We always need to talk more about depression. We always need to talk more about mental illness. It is still seen as something that is a taboo. And even though so many people around the world are actually coming out and talking about how they struggle with depression on a daily basis and have been for years on end, it's still not enough. We see how depression takes the people that we love, who are very close to us, the people that we aspire to, our celebrities, our friends, our families. And it's happening on the daily. It happens on the daily. And it's because, to me, I believe we're still not talking about it enough. And we have to. We have to talk about it more and more and more and more and more. I have never been shy to speak about my struggles with depression, because I know that if I just share my story, it might resonate with somebody out there and it might help one person. One. That's all we need to do, is help one person, and hope that the pay it forward kind of like thing happens. You know, we help one person, they help another, they help another, they help another, and then next thing you know, we've helped like 50 people without even realizing it. We have to make mental illness not a taboo. It is not a taboo. We have to educate people around us. We have to educate our elders. We have to educate our family. We have to educate our community. Because in so many places around the world, the word depression does not exist. Does not exist. The word depression, to so many people, or even saying that you're depressed, to people who don't understand the word, who don't understand the concept of mental illness, will just immediately say, well, you're crazy. There's something wrong with you. You're sick in the head. And that's not the case. Having a really low day and not knowing how to pull yourself out of that, and that day turning into 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, weeks on end, does eventually lead yourself to being in such an extremely dark place that you really have no idea how to pull yourself out of it. The funny thing is, we are all human. We may have different creeds, different colors, different races, but we're human. Our energy is exactly the same. Most of us deal with things exactly the same way. When we go into a dip, we go in hard, and it becomes deep and dark and depressive. And we don't want to speak to people. We don't want to see anybody. We completely just become recluses. We either eat too much or we don't eat at all. We either sleep too much or we don't sleep at all. This happens worldwide. This isn't just a Western thing, a Northern thing, a white thing, a Southern thing, a black thing, a purple thing. It is a people thing. That's what we do. And we need to talk about this more so that it's normal. I cried for 2 months solid at one point. I didn't even know why I was crying. I had no idea. I was just like, I can't stop crying. And it was because I was having a mental breakdown. I eventually realized that my psyche was just not gelling with everything else, and I was having a mental breakdown. I ran to my dad and I was like, you have to help me. I feel like I'm going crazy. I literally used those words. I feel like I'm going crazy. I need you to help me. And he didn't know. He literally was like, that's all in your head. And I was like, that's the problem. That is the problem. You know? And at this point, I'd been on and off depressants. I'd, overdosed on tranquilizers. I'd done everything I could to not die, because I didn't want to die. I just wanted to eradicate the pain. I didn't want to feel the pain anymore, So I cut myself, and I started cutting myself at a really young age, and that was to externalize the pain that I was feeling internally. I started overdosing on my antidepressants because I wanted to sleep for a very long time and wake up and for it to all disappear. That was the hope, at least. It was never to die. It was just to disappear for a bit and come back hoping that everything was going to be okay. And when I had the mental breakdown, I realized that the issue was I'd never really spoken about my stuff. I got diaries for days about what I was feeling and how I was feeling and what the things that were making me angry and sad. And I used to write poetry, dark, weird, deep shit. And then I went to a shrink. And I think we all need to go to shrinks. I don't even think it's got to do with like mental illness. We all need to just offload on somebody that isn't our friend or our family, because sometimes they just do not understand and they do not know how to help us. I think everybody needs to invest in a shrink. And those of us who can't invest in a shrink, I think we need to find counselors and free counselors within our communities and churches who we can just literally speak to, because sometimes you just need to speak to somebody who is objective and who isn't going to give you who isn't going to judge you. I think that's the hardest part about a mental illness and depression, is not wanting to admit that you are these things because you are afraid of being judged. That is the biggest problem. We are afraid of being judged, and we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be looked at up and down, or thought that we are weird, or thought that something is wrong with us. What is wrong with you? Like, and that's just... We just need to speak about it more, man. We just need to be open and honest and speak about the things that we are going through and feeling. And now with platforms like coming out of our ears, there are so many platforms for us to be voices on. Be a voice. Explain to people what happens when you go into your dip. Explain to people how you come out of that dip. I notice my dips, for example, days before they start to happen. I'm like, oh, I'm going into a bit of a depression right now. Things have been a little bit crazy. I can feel myself dipping. So what are my mechanisms to get myself out of the dip? I dance. I go out and I try and, if I have a day, I will go out and take photographs. And I'll have my headphones in and I'll listen to good music. Because that's another thing. When you're in your dip, you start listening to angry music, depressive music. Like, you won't listen to music that uplifts you because you're like, I'm going to listen to music that goes with my mood right now. Flip that on its head. Listen to upbeat music. Dance. Dancing is like the best thing you can do. It's so easy to just be like, I'm going to drink. I've been there. I've been there where I've just been like, I'm just going to drink. I'm just going to drink all of this away because just like trying to deal with shit sober is just exhausting. But drinking doesn't help. It doesn't help. It enhances the emotion. And then you go to sleep and you wake up the next day and you have a hangover and you feel like more shit. So you just drink some more. Ew, no. No. Like, that's the last thing I do now. Yeah, sometimes when I've had a hard day, I'm like, I could do with a beer. And I have myself a beer, but I'm not trying to get drunk. I'm not trying to forget. I'm not trying to, not deal with my daily issue at hand. So I try to find ways to come out of it. I recognize my dips, and I realize that, I haven't been taking care of myself, and that's why I'm going through this dip right now. So I have to bring back my practices. I have to bring back my discipline of meditating every day, exercising, doing feel-good things, speaking to people who make me feel good, going back into my creativity, going back into my photography or videography or writing or whatever it is. And then I'm out of it. And then I'm out of it. And then I'm okay again. But this is my daily struggle. This is what I deal with month to month, day to day, year to year. This is how I deal with my depression. I currently don't have a shrink. I do want to get one because I'm just like, I need to speak to somebody. But I'm also really good at not offloading my stuff on people, which can also be good and bad, because that's the problem. When you don't offload your stuff onto people, then you just keep it and you pile 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 it, and then one day you snap. So don't snap. Speak to somebody. Speak to your best friend, speak to your aunt, speak to your cousin. Sometimes speaking to people that you aren't close to helps. Like, really helps. I find myself opening up to people that I'll just randomly meet and have, like, I work as a freelancer, so I'm not always working with the same people all the time. So sometimes I'll just meet someone and we click, and then they're telling me their issues and I'm telling them mine, and then I'm like, hey, that felt good. I'll probably never see you again. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we just need that. And I think it's important to, if it's not somebody close to you that you can offload on every day, I'm not saying just walk up to somebody on the streets and be like, hey, do you have time? I just need to tell you something. Don't do that. But if you have that moment with somebody on, at your random job, at your job, on set, wherever you are, and you just so happen to click with somebody and you just so happen to have that kind of conversation, have it. Don't be afraid to have it. You'd be surprised how receptive people are, how willing to listen, and how willing to give their advice or go, shit, damn, I'd go see a shrink. Whatever they say to you, like, we have to be more open to A, not judging other people, and B, not being afraid of being judged. That's a catch-22, because as humans, we're judgy. We're judgy. It's gross. We are such judgy people, and we have to really learn not to judge people, because what are you judging? You know, most of us don't have better lives than the person that we're judging. Most of us are pretending to have better lives than the person that we're judging. Most of us want to elevate ourselves onto this pedestal so we can look down on people, hence therefore we judge. Just don't judge. Just don't judge people, because you never know what people are going through and what their circumstances are and why they are in a situation at that specific time. You have absolutely no right to judge. So rather listen to people openly and with an open mind and an open heart. And if you can't give the advice, then say, I don't know what to say to you. I wish I could, but I hope you find the ways and the means to pull yourself out of this. I wish you all the best. I'm sending you love and light. There are so many ways to come around a conversation and a situation when you don't know how to answer or give people answers. We don't all have the answers, so we can't all give the answers. So I just want to say, let's stop making depression, mental illness, a taboo, because it isn't. The thing is, it's a chemical imbalance, and it's a chemical imbalance that we actually cannot physically, mathematically understand and put together. When you are put on antidepressants, they say, here, I'm going to put you on this. Start with this dose and then go up, 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 up. And either that pill works for you or it doesn't. And then your doctor will go, okay, cool, I'm going to put you on these depressants covered with this pill and then with that, and then we'll see if it counteracts. I don't know how many antidepressants I was put on when I was first diagnosed with depression. I was on anxiety pills, and I was on that antidepressant, and it was like half a pill, take 2 pills, take 3 pills and that pill, and this pill and that pill. And I just jumped from different things, and eventually I was like, yo, this is not for me. And it isn't. But some people need it. And that's absolutely okay. And that's what it is. You know, it's just figuring it all out and finding what is the best coping mechanism for you. So I think we need to be more open with one another, and we need to be more understanding with one another, and we need to stop judging one another, and we just need to spread more love and light and be a lot more understanding. And one day shit like this will no longer be a taboo, and we'll just be able to openly speak about it and just save lives and save each other and just be so vibrational, literally like just buzzing with just so much love and light that people will dip, but they'll come out of it so fast because the vibration is here. Does that even make sense? I hope that makes sense. I know I was rambling, but I just felt like it was so important to share this.